The creation of a hybrid system was a crazy, monumental leap for gaming. We finally got to this point where we could stuff the power of a modern home console into a portable system that could be brought anywhere. That sounds like a blessing, but now, to me at least, it's starting to feel more like a curse.
Nah, it's still a blessing. I gotta hear this. I gotta hear what a curse is.
Angel Knot.
It was good. Salutations to the nations. Angel Knots, it's your boy Young Sinai. Today we are going to be watching a video by the creator. What's that say? Cold Cuts, but COL Cuts, not cold cuts. You feel me? But this video is hybrid systems aren't hybrid. So let's go ahead and check it out. You already know we love handhelds over here. All right, let's get it.
My boys, pretty soon it will have been a decade since the original Switch launched. And as time continues to progress, the concept of how there used to be two different kinds of gaming systems will be something forgotten to time. The children of tomorrow will not know of a handheld system and its games.
See, that's why you have to teach your kids these things. You can't just let it be forgotten in time. We owe it to our children to tell them about dedicated handhelds. They are the vinyls and Betamax of our generation. You feel me? How would we know about A-Track if it wasn't for our parents?
Being very different.
So if you don't tell your kids about handhelds, dedicated handhelds, you are a bad parent. Yeah, I said it.
Different experiences from home consoles and their games. Because nowadays, you can take your home system on the go, or you can put your portable on the TV. They will never understand the pain of finding out Battle for Bikini Bottom on Game Boy was an entirely different game than Battle for Bikini Bottom on GameCube. Now they can just play a big, intensive game like Cyberpunk on the TV and then take it with them on the go to
spoiled generation, man.
Grandma's funeral. I wasn't the only one who brought my DS with me to a funeral, right? Like that wasn't just me. The creation of a hybrid system was a crazy, monumental leap for gaming. We finally got to this point where we could stuff the power of a modern home console into a portable system that could be brought anywhere. That sounds like a blessing, and you know, for those first few years of watching hybrid systems become mainstream, it did feel like a blessing. But now, to me at least, it's starting to feel more like a curse.
Nah, it's still a blessing. I gotta hear this. I gotta hear what a curse is.
I grew up as a kid who did most of his gaming on a handheld device. I like being able to play a game here, or here, or here. Cause while portable systems provided less intensive games than home consoles, it didn't really matter because it was portable. You could bring it anywhere, whip it out at a moment's notice, don't make that weird, and then shove it back in your pocket and go on about your day. And now, in the modern day, with a hybrid system like the Switch, I can play an intensive game like Doom Eternal here, or even back here, but I can't fit this thing in my pocket. You see, they call hybrid systems like the Switch and the Steam Deck portable, and they do live up to the definition of that word. I mean, I can take this system with me anywhere. Although it's just nowhere near as practical as portable gaming used to be. Don't get me wrong, I am forever grateful that the Earth is 4 billion.
Now, here's the thing, and maybe it's just me, but everywhere I go, I have my backpack with me. When I say everywhere I go, I mean like I leave my backpack in the car. You know what I'm saying? And like there contains my Switch and my Steam Deck and different things like that. So I still get to use these consoles on the go. I mostly use them in the car. But this is why I always recommend having a dedicated handheld that can fit in your pocket. You know what I mean? Like a Miu Mini or a Ambernic RG35XXSP or even an analog pocket.
Years old, and I happen to exist at the same time as
a companion device.
Hatsune Miku Project Mega Diva 39S for Nintendo Switch. But I miss the days when I could play a game on the train discreetly and put it in my pocket when I got off. I can still do that, and to a better degree, because I can play a more intensive game. But this isn't discreet, and it's not going in my pocket. I feel as if a hybrid system isn't focused on embracing the core values of both console gaming and handheld gaming, but rather focuses purely on the fact that you can now bring the power of a home console with you anywhere, which kinda completely undermines Nintendo's philosophy toward portable gaming. I mean, we all know the story of how Nintendo went
And that Switch 2 gonna be even bigger.
on to create their first handheld game apparatus, the Game & Watch. And if you don't, well, it went a little something like this. One day, a dude who worked for Nintendo was on a train, and he saw a businessman fiddling with a calculator to pass the time. The dude who worked at Nintendo was inspired and then sought to create a portable, discreet handheld device for people to entertain themselves with during commutes. And boom, the Game & Watch was born. And this device, it did exactly what it set out to do. It was discreet, and it provided people the ability to entertain themselves when they had some time to kill. What is really cool about that story is that core design philosophy that Nintendo envisioned in 1980 was built upon and improved for 31 years, all the way to 2011. Over those 30.
Okay, but here's something I want to say. You know, he keeps bringing up as far as it being discreet, but yeah, the Game & Watch was discreet. That thing was tiny. I've never seen a Game & Watch in person, but I'm just basing it off of those videos. That video that we just watched. But like a 3DS, that's not tiny. A Game Boy, that's not tiny. That's not discreet. If you pull that out, people know that you are playing a handheld game. Like, I understand what he's saying to a certain extent. Like, yeah, it's smaller than a Steam Deck, but it's still not discreet in my opinion.
1 years, the Game & Watch evolved into the Game Boy, which improved upon itself until they created the DS, which also continued to improve upon itself. There were 7 different iterations of Game Boy systems and 10 iterations of DS.
I mean, the Game Boy Micro, you know, that's discreet.
Systems. But even after 31 years of upgrades, the plot was never lost. All of those systems were designed to be discreet and have games that people could.
Maybe I don't know what discreet means because those are not discreet. Define discreet.
Here's the definition of discreet. Careful and circumspect in one's speech or actions, especially in order to avoid causing offense or to gain an advantage.
What? That didn't have nothing to do.
Could kill some time with. Every iteration of Game Boy could be cradled in both of your hands and then shoved back into your pocket at a moment's notice. Then, as technology improved, Nintendo was able to evolve the Game Boy even further and create the DS, which could handle more intensive games in the third dimension, which was something you used to only be able to do on a home console. But they still made sure that the DS was designed to be low-key and efficiently portable. So I find it fascinating that the core principles of the Game & Watch that persisted over the course of 3 decades was then seemingly ditched overnight. The Nintendo Switch was the world's first ever hybrid system, but it just doesn't really feel like Nintendo has carried over the core design philosophy of their past handheld systems. Like I said earlier, the Switch is not discreet. It's
Technically, it wasn't the first hybrid console. I mean, yeah, it feels that way and it was mainstream, but if we look at like the Sega Nomad, shout outs to Sega, you know what I'm saying? Like, they been done did this in the 90s, but, you know, that didn't have the same popularity, and the Switch is better. I mean, come on now.
not low-key, and it's not efficiently portable. I'm not hating on the Switch. This is probably my favorite invention since stuffed crust pizza. I love this thing, I really do. I just also really miss how easy it was to bring a Game Boy or a DS with me places. The Switch just isn't as seamless to bring with me places, and it's not as low-key to whip out in public. Don't make that weird. Though I will say that I don't think this issue of a hybrid system lacking convenient portability is a long-term issue. I would like to imagine that as time passes and technology advances, Nintendo will
I mean, a Switch Lite, you don't consider that portable? Can a Switch Lite fit in your pocket? I don't know. I don't have one.
seek to improve the portability of the Switch. I mean, maybe I'm bugging, but I think after the Switch 2, since that system is already on the heels of modern graphics, it makes sense for Nintendo to prioritize making the next system more portable. Like I said, maybe I am bugging, but I can see a future where the next Switch is more or less the same power-wise, but utilizes something like a foldable display to improve the portability.
Man, I would love that. Who wouldn't love that? A clamshell Switch? Come on now.
Imagine if you could fold your Switch and put it into your pocket when you're not playing. I need that. I don't want to carry around a big flat screen with 2 controllers on it that I need a bag or a carrying case to bring with me. I want subtlety. I want some low-key shit. And you cannot blame me for that because, like I said, I grew up with mainly playing games on a handheld system. So those core design philosophies of old Nintendo handhelds were unknowingly seared into my brain. And because of that, it's not just the physical design of hybrid systems that I find myself pretty iffy on. No, it is also the design of the games. Now, this aspect is definitely less of an issue. Maybe it's not even really an issue at all. I kind of just want to explain how growing up with Nintendo handhelds being my main way of playing video games has affected my current experience of video games as a whole. Cause just like how Nintendo had a core design philosophy built around the physical structure of their handhelds, they also had a core design philosophy for the way that they created games for their handhelds. They understood that handheld gaming wasn't just a smaller version of console gaming, it was an entirely different experience. And they leaned into what made it unique, a home console.
Yeah, that is absolutely true. And I'm glad he's showing Luigi's Mansion on the screen because that's a really good example. They really utilize that dual screen. They really utilize that touch screen.
Is something you sit down in front of. You put aside time to immerse yourself.
Like the Switch is touchscreen, but when do you ever touch?
In that experience. A handheld system is smaller, it's less powerful. It is something that you take with you to kill time in between whatever you're doing. So the games for Nintendo handhelds were purposefully designed to be played in short bursts, on the bus, between classes, during a break. It was something you could pick up and play and put back in your pocket. And I really like that structure of game design. I do love losing myself in a massive game for hours as I get side.
Man, I don't miss school. I don't miss school at all, but I do miss riding on the school bus, playing the Game Boy. Man, that was a great time. Except when your batteries run out, then it's a crappy time.
Sidetracked and explore the world, but that's mainly for when I can relax enough to be comfortable doing that uninterrupted. Not when I'm out in public, it's not the same experience. Like if I'm playing Paper Mario at home, I can carve out a good chunk of the game, maybe even finish an entire chapter in one sitting so that when I pick it up again, I'm starting a new mission. But if I'm playing Paper Mario portably out in the real world, I may make some progress, then I'll have to put the game down and go about my day, which makes it so when I pick the game back up after a few hours, I forgot what I was in the middle of or what I was supposed to do.
And you know something that should really be considered with these portable handhelds is save states for everything. Like for every game, you should be able to have save states. And that goes for Switch, that goes for the games on Steam, everything. Because you might not want to put it in sleep mode, you know what I'm saying? But you should be able to pick that game right back up.
where I was supposed to go. Now, a lot of people don't like games designed with the intent of being picked up and put down sporadically, and I can't blame them, but for me, that's how I grew up. So it's kind of my preferred way to play sometimes, especially when I am out and about.
I feel them on that. That's how I play most games too. Even like console games. Like I'll just play some, leave, come back, play some.
But yeah, that doesn't really upset me as much as the physical design for hybrid systems, because there are still games being made to be played in short bursts. Maybe not as many as there once was, but they're still present. And just like my gripes with the physical aspect of the system, there are going to be people who don't see it my way and don't care. But I care. I can't be the only one, right? There's got to be some others who feel the same, right? I don't know. I kind of just wanted to vent out my thoughts about the current state of hybrid gaming and how there are just a lot of aspects of old handheld gaming that I miss. So if you...
Yeah, I think that he made some good points there. Like I said, I don't think that even a lot of the older handhelds are really discreet, but I could just be tripping on what discreet means. He brings up a lot of good points, I agree with most of what he said. But I definitely love being able to play AAA games on the go. Like, if I had to switch back to which time period in handheld gaming, there's no way I would go back to then. Especially considering you can still buy those handhelds like on eBay, or you can get the emulation devices and still have that, same experience. Like I said, I recommend a companion device to your larger handheld. That's just how I feel. All right, y'all. I appreciate y'all. Make sure that you sub. I'm trying to hit my first 1,000 subs. You know what I'm saying? Your boy out here trying to get monetized. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to put in the work for you. You know what I mean? Lucky. The editor of this channel, she trying to put in the work. We trying to put in the work to get to this 1,000 subs. You feel me? You got to get 1,000 subs before you can get monetized on YouTube. You feel me? So please join the Angel Knots, okay? And also, when you join, if you hit the community tab for posts, you can see that I am giving away a Trim UI brick, and you have the chance to potentially win that. All right, appreciate you watching. God bless and salutations to the nations. Peace.
Angel Knot.